So a lot of you might recognize this picture. This was taken right outside the room where Platform Engineering Day was happening in Salt Lake City. So when I see this picture, what I see is the CNCF making a lot of money. But what I also see is a wonderful community of people coming together. And ever since platform engineering coffee started, and then platform engineering was a track as part of KubeCon, and platform engineering got its own platform day co-located event. And today it's a two-track platform engineering day. So it's really growing. It's a testament to all of the wonderful work that this community has been putting in. I am a little bummed that it's two tracks and we have to split. I do like the talk that's going on in the track nearby, but it is what it is. So the reason I put this picture up is this is where I got an inspiration for the talk today. So if you don't see, that's Abby right there, the most famous face in platform engineering in the Kubernetes community. And that's me. Okay, I was there. And we had a long drawn conversation about their platforms and the stuff that she was trying to build and things like that. And we used two words that as engineers, we don't like to hear. So this was a conversation about who's trying to use platforms versus who's trying to buy them versus who's having conversations about them, whether internal or external and things like that. I mean, obviously, no sales talk without the most famous sales scene from Hollywood. But this is us as a community right now. We're forced to make extremely difficult choices as engineers. And the most dreaded choice that we have to make is we all have to sell the platforms that we are building, whether it's selling internally or selling externally. So a lot of the platform adoption happens at a grassroots level, as I like to think about it. It's engineers looking at platforms and deciding to adopt them. Now, I remember many years ago, looking at Heroku for the first time, experiencing that Git push master magic and being hooked onto platforms ever since. But then what happened as a result at my workplace is many conversations with management where I couldn't really get them to speak the same language. I mean, C, C++, Java, all of those languages are fine for us as a community. But when you have to translate it into business speak and metrics and try to sell internal development platforms to management, it becomes a whole new language that as an engineer, I could never speak, and as management, they could never understand what I spoke. And so it brings me to another interesting throwback to a past KubeCon, which is, I think this is 2003 in Amsterdam, going by the graphics. But this is the first, quote unquote, official review. It's kind of like a Yelp review situation for Kubernetes platforms. But this was the first and the most honest feedback that I got as a person who's involved in platform engineering about what's hard, what's easy, what's good, and what's bad about platforms on Kubernetes. And ever since then, I've been going back to this notion of who are the personas that are using this, who are the audiences for any talk about platforms. And that brings me to the most common marketing asset that a lot of the platform teams have. This seems pretty straightforward. I took the screenshot this morning because websites tend to change. And this is one of the most straightforward ways in which you can understand platforms today. And coming from sort of one of the original creators, it's a very good thing. I specifically took this screenshot because when you think about personas and audiences, you're trying to sell developers on platforms. And what's better for developers than docs, right? So I think this team just converted their landing page into their docs page. And so everybody who comes here can just get started. You don't have to say, hey, read through this stuff and then get started. And I love it about this. There's other examples. This one just says OpenShift 5 times. I think by now, everybody in the platform world knows what OpenShift is, and they just need like a try me button. There's other popular players who seem to send like a similar message. and who are emphasizing what's special about them. This is a little bit of self-introspection, seeing what I have written and showing it to the world. Fortunately, I don't have to do sales because it's an open source project. And now the next segment of this talk is going to be pissing off a lot of the sponsors, so sorry about that. Somehow this team seems to think they're smarter than the rest of us, okay, but I don't see like a try now button, which is what developers want to do. There's a speak to us button, which I don't think any developer is going to click, because I don't think they want to speak to anyone. And then this is another popular provider that says, deploy in a few clicks. Show me a developer that wants to deploy with a click, and I will, I don't know, chop my ear off or something like that. I think they should have done a typo and just left CLI in that last word. They might have, a better click-through. Another sponsor, another opportunity to piss someone off. I think this is a reasonably good description of what they're trying to do as platforms. Another perennial favorite, who have sort of changed their copy over time. I like what they have right now, but it's sort of very, I've never seen a before and an after diagram as a Venn diagram because they don't intersect. But anyhow, that's just me being pedantic. And then we, go into the realm of just poetry and literary descriptions of what you want to do as platforms. Deploy anything, anywhere. It sounds great, but not really descriptive, to be honest. And this has to be like, they're not here, so I can say whatever comes to mind. This has to be the most complicated copy. But going through all of this reminds me of, this joke about Yankee candles. So some of them are very specific. Yankee candle, the aroma is cinnamon stick. Yeah, I know what that is. I can make a very easy purchase decision. Some others are more abstract. So for those of you that can't read this, it says ocean air. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it's at least in the realm of things that exist and stuff that I might have experienced. And then it gets a little tricky. So this is harder to understand. And the most complicated of all has to be this, because this is incorrect grammar, and coming from a non-native English speaker, I don't know if I am in love with snow or snow is in love with me, or just with one. Yeah, it fails to make me comprehend what they're trying to communicate. And that's what I see with a lot of the platform websites that are having the same copy and does the same thing, and it's mostly that. And then adding to all the complexity, everybody seems to want to be a platform. You have CI/CD as a platform. You have something else as a platform. You have security as a platform. You have observability as a platform. I am sick of it. But we're going to do a quick round of website words that people are using. I'm still okay with some of these words appearing on copy about platforms websites. These are getting somewhat repetitive and don't really mean anything. Batteries included has to be, the one thing that we're all used to reading on all of these. But like app modernization, come on, I can't take it. Let's try and get rid of that. Along with accelerate, I don't want to see this in any web copy anymore. I don't want to see seamless either, because there's always seams, okay? And then I wanted to touch upon something else for people in the room. So there's so many sales techniques that we ought to know as a community. It really helps us. There's very proven ways in which you can have conversations, which we're not doing. And all of these sales techniques have been built with a buyer persona, a seller persona, tools, and things like that. But there's also a different paradigm. A lot of people come to me and say, Ram, we're not doing platforms externally, we're doing them internally, and we like to think of our platform as a product. It doesn't change things. You still have to sell to a bunch of suits about why you need a platform, etc. Same diff. Right? You're going to continue to have the build versus buy debate depending on which side of the bed your CTO woke up on. And then I think the last thing I wanted to touch on is avoid cultural references, because you can say cattle versus pets as much as you want here, but back home where I'm from, cattle are pets, and we're very sensitive about it. Almost as sensitive as how this can be perceived in, the western part of the world. There's also a very local thing. I can explain pipelines with bagpipes. It's all very cute, but it's not really going to drive the point home. Let's be as technical as possible whenever we describe things. And for those who don't know, this is a picture of Planko. I'm sure he's here somewhere in his kilt. This was when he was 12 years old. But these are the last three things I wanted to talk about, just drive home the message. But if you had to summarize all of it, empathize with who you're trying to speak to and make sure you speak the same language. Thank you so much for coming to my talk and being a wonderful audience today.